Hello and welcome to another episode of the Main Straight, the official F1 in Schools podcast. My name is Tom Deacon. I'm your host, and I welcome you back to hopefully another brilliant episode where we'll welcome a guest to the show to get all of those nuggets of gold that will hopefully help you in your competition. And here's a big news. I mean, I know I'm not the first to announce it, but for everyone listening, this might be your first episode you've ever joined. Well, I'll take this opportunity to tell you to go back and listen to some of the previous episodes of the Main Straight, because other guests will have helped out in some way, which to give the information, which will hopefully help you in your competition. So big news, it has been announced on the F1 in Schools HQ, and that is the Aramco F1 in Schools World Final Saudi Arabia 2024 has been announced. 22nd of November until the 28th, which will then go on to the Qatar Airways Qatar Grand Prix. Very exciting stuff. If you are going to be there, I can't wait to see you in person. It is going to be truly spectacular. More information to the teams competing. I'm sure you'll be receiving that very soon. So I can't actually wait, now I think about it, to do the Main Straight podcast from Saudi Arabia. That is going to be so much fun. But that is you up to date with all of the information that is coming out about F1 in Schools. And I'm so excited because we are going to be joined by a brilliant guest today, head of testing at McLaren F1. Such a good guest. So let's wait no longer. Let's get straight to it. And I welcome the guest today, Jose Manuel Lopez. Jose, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you for hosting me.
The most difficult question you'll be asked on this podcast is how are you and how much of a busy day are you having right now? Just to give context to your world.
Just to give context, we just sit here. We arrived from Hungary last night. We have a few problems with flights canceled and so on Sunday. So that means that our preparation for moving to a Spa race weekend, as you know, a back-to-back, has compressed quite a bit. So a lot of meetings today and a lot of very compressed schedule today and tomorrow. But hopefully with the support of the people here in the factory, we will be good.
Yeah, I love the way already, my favorite word of the day, and I know it's going to be for everyone listening, compressed. To many people, that means, that just means running out of time. Surely, is that the technical term at McLaren? We use the word compressed so you don't get too stressed.
I don't know if it's a technical word for McLaren, but it's definitely what I use to describe my schedule today.
Okay, all right. Well, let's start. Can you give us an overview of your role as head of testing at McLaren and what your day-to-day responsibilities are and what they entail?
So my role as head of testing is, it changed a little bit through the year because it's extremely busy towards the end of the year in preparation already for what is going to happen the following season. And my main focus is that pre-season time, where all the F1 teams, we try to maximize our learning, putting those new cars together and understand all the details that we need to improve and arrange before the first race of the year. And as you know, nowadays, F1 testing is only 3 days with all the other teams in one car only. And then we have these filming days that we use them as well to check down the car and be sure that everything is working as expected and capture content for our commercial partners. Those and some testing on the benches and so on with smaller parts of the cars, if that makes sense. So it's extremely busy the first few months of the year, trying to coordinate and collaborate with all the departments in the F1 team that goes from design, aerodynamics, controls, systems, software development, race engineering, of course, and many more. And it's interesting now because I'm not an expert of any of those departments, any of those sections. I'm coming from race engineering background, and but it's a matter of how I see my role is just a facilitator. I try to facilitate those experts, those fantastic engineers leading those departments to ensure that they get all what they need in that testing period now. And I just collect all the information of what they need, all the requirements they want to take through the pre-season and try to provide some kind of prioritization with a limited amount of testing on track that we have, and try to make every single lap, every single meter that we run with a F1 car count and learn. So there's no one lap that we do in precision testing or filming days that we are not looking at something to learn from it.
I mean, that is absolutely fascinating, Jose, because for many listening right now, I think competitors in F1 in schools competing feel like sometimes they have to be the expert in that particular bit they're doing. But I think that's a great way of saying you facilitate to make sure everyone in their field works together. You're kind of like the team leader in many respects. What do you think it is that is your skill that you're good at that can, I guess in many respects, has got you to the position you are in right now? What are the secret skills or the special skills that Jose has?
I don't have any special skills, Tom. I'm just a normal guy. I wasn't the best engineer in the class. I didn't have the great opportunity that F1 schools provide a new generation of engineers to develop those skills really soon in their careers. I'm just a really normal guy. A little bit of common sense, listening. You have to listen a lot in this position, and that's something that I'm learning as well, just to understand what they need, what those experts and that talent that we have here in McLaren as engineers, they need from somebody like me. And be sure that I'm that glue between all those different groups and steer the direction of that testing toward what we need at that point. When everything goes well, that's reasonably easy because it's a good plan. We put all that plan together. We bought in the plan together. But when things go not as expected, and suddenly you need to prioritize things and drop things from the program, that's where that understanding built through the listening, it becomes your best friend to help to make that decision for the best interest of the team.
Thank you very much for explaining that maybe not a special skill, but maybe people skills and being able to communicate with people is a vital way that you've got to where you have, Jose. So take us way back then, how did you get into the world of F1?
Tom, before moving to this question, I think what you have said is very, very accurate. F1 is a sport not about only technology, not about cars. It's a sport about people. And I think that's part of what our F1 and schools students and competitors need to understand. It's a sport about people. The pinnacle of the technology in motorsport is not about the technology. It's about that people, that team that brings that technology, that brings the new ideas, that brings the thoughts into the competition. And working with the people, listening them, understanding what they need to exploit their talent, and ensure that we facilitate them all what they need to exploit their talent, particularly the new generations that are coming so strong. That's all about it is, or a big part of it.
Yeah, so because I have to say, I mean, I at Silverstone this year, 2024, just seeing so many moving parts. That's what F1 is. It's so many moving parts. And even at the grid, at the circuit, there's a huge amount of people for each team. But that's not to say there's a huge amount of people back at the factory, back working, that constant talking, communicating. It just seems to be, I mean, I sometimes get quite tired just watching all of the parts move around. But yeah, explain us, how did you get into F1, Jose?
Oh, well, I was studying, I'm Spanish, I was studying engineering, mechanical engineering in Madrid. And I always wanted to make of the competition and the sport lifestyle. I did a little bit of sports back in the time myself. Nothing related with motorsports. So I'm not like a good karting driver or anything like that. There's a lot of that here in this building. But I was attracted by the motorsport since I was very young. Maybe because I was watching with my dad races, like not so much F1, but for instance, rally drivers. Back in the time in Spain, Carlos Sainz was winning world championship as a rally driver. Watching just Le Mans races. And then I'm coming from a little town called Albacete, and we have a circuit there that but in the 90s, it sounds very old here. In the 90s, they had, it was one of the top circuits in Europe. So we have all kind of competitions coming there. And I used to go there with my dad. And I always was fascinated with all the team crews and all those mechanics, engineers. I have no idea who was who, but I could see them working around the machines and the drivers. And that's the part it attracted me more than being a driver, no? And I thought, look, I'm actually good in physics, in maths, I'm good in engineering. I would love to make this kind of a lifestyle, no? And try to compete in the pinnacle of the sport, like I said, one. So yes, I followed that. I studied engineering. I jumped into this project of a Formula student in the university, and then I did a master in motorsport that opened the doors to meet teams, junior Formula teams. That was the route I followed to join Formula One. A little bit unique because it's not the most common one. So I was in a team in the UK called Carlin Motorsport that is very famous between the junior formulas. Nowadays, the name is Rodin. And I was there race engineer for 5 years. And from there, I was very lucky that I worked with fantastic people that one of them recommended me to join Haas F1, where I started my F1 career. And as you see, it was through people that worked with me that I achieved the opportunity to get an interview there. It wasn't about, this guy is the smartest engineer here, but it was more about this guy, engineer, smart, he knows what he's doing. Obviously, you need that, but as well, he's a fantastic teammate, and we think spending a lot of hours in motorsport with your colleagues in a track or in an office, it's very important to be a good teammate. And I think that opened the door of that interview that, fortunately, it took me to F1.
That's a fantastic journey and quite an inspiring one for lots of people. So I'm picking apart what you've just said there, Jose, and education was very much needed, but it was those extra people skills that gave you that edge. If you were super intelligent, top of the class, but you couldn't relay those ideas or communicate, then it wouldn't have got you to where you are right now.
Exactly. That's exactly the point. I think nowadays, everybody has an engineering degree, and don't get me wrong, it's difficult. It's not easy to get an engineering degree. So hat off to all those ones that get it. But unfortunately, it's not the differentiator. If we want to get to F1, we are going to have 3,000-4,000 people coming from all the best universities or any university that provides engineering degrees in the world, knocking on the door. And you need to add on that, obviously, we all need to speak English. But that seems very obvious. But as you know, we are not all from England or the US or so on now, so we all need to be fluent on English. Again, that's only to put you at the same level that everybody else. That's not a differentiator. Engineers, back in the time at least, we are a little bit square-minded. And engineering schools in general are not very focused on develop social skills, are more focused on solve engineering problems. But in the end, as you said really well, we could be the best engineers in the world with the best idea in the world, that if we are not able to communicate that idea to our colleagues or to the people that we want to sell that idea or to present it, that idea is not going to go anywhere. And maybe you have a fantastic game changer idea.
Yeah,
I think you said it's very important to get those social skills and team culture.
Yeah, I mean the amount of competitors in F1 in schools, these incredible minds, great problem-solving minds, and trying to get that car as fast as possible on the track. And the way that they're able to communicate to me when I chat to them is amazing to watch, and to know that little skill that sometimes gets overlooked can get you to where you are now, Jose, is brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. I'm curious to know, with your job, because head of testing now, as you've mentioned, it wasn't always your role. You've moved from performance and race engineer at Carlin, now Robin. What have been some of the biggest challenges for you? And also, I guess I'm asking so you can explain how you overcame them to give people a bit of that golden nugget of advice.
a little bit to span the background, just to link time from F3 or F2 race engineer until now. In between, I've been performance engineer in Formula One, but previously in Haas, and then in McLaren. Here in McLaren, working with Lando for the last 4 seasons, and in the last year doing some race engineering as his race engineer for some races as well. Some of the biggest challenges. I think some of the biggest challenges is one of them is time management. Very important. Nowadays in Formula One, it's not about solving a problem. It's solving a problem and digesting the data that you have in front of you in an extremely reduced period of time. So it's almost a time trial of engineering. No, just to decide the changes between FP1 and FP2 or between FP2 and the Saturday. That is when qualifying happens, and I think that's a challenge, definitely, to be able to understand what is really important and what is important but a little bit less. No, because everything is everybody contributes with good ideas. All departments provide a lot of information, a lot of analysis, and as performance engineer or race engineer or head of testing, you receive all that information. And you need to understand which one is really important, priority 1, and which one are the second or third level of priority. And make that difference, it helps you a lot. And it's challenging. It's something that you learn on the way, and that's not easy. Communication is a challenge as well. I think when I jumped into Formula One, and I had to learn how to communicate to a bigger team than what I was doing when I was in junior series. Now there's way more people in Formula One, and within Formula One, jumping from a team like Haas at the beginning of his existence to a huge organization like McLaren is another step of level of communication. Now everything you do, you have to communicate right to the right people, you show the right message, reach the right person to be sure that those problems are solved and those challenges are solved. And that became a challenge at the beginning that you need to go through. So that wasn't easy. And another bigger challenge is, I think there's nowadays the Formula One season is a very long season. Manage 24 races and manage a high level of engineering and performance through the whole season. It's not only about the drivers, it's about the engineers and the team around the drivers as well. So look after yourself, ensure that you sleep, ensure that you get your breaks and do sports, eat well, those kind of things to ensure that you are at the same level of performance through the whole season is very challenging, because it's not about peaking at some point, it's actually holding that high level performance through so many months every weekend in working out. And so I think that's very challenging as well. So there's a lot of many of them, and sometimes you need to understand that your job list it keeps increasing. It keeps increasing. You finish something, and the more things you finish, the more things come into your job list. So at some point you need to accept that you will never be finished with your job list, but you need to go home and rest, because the way of making the car faster or helping your team to go quicker is actually having a good rest and having a fresh mind the day after when you need to execute another session, another qualifier, another race.
Well, thank you very much for that, Jose. That will, I'm sure, relax a few competitors right now. They're like, I just need a little bit more rest. That is going to help me. I suppose with all of those challenges, especially when you've got a job list that keeps getting longer and longer, and you cross off one and then you've got 4 more added. What do you find most rewarding with your job, or maybe pick out a couple of examples where you really felt like all of that hard work, all of those days where you didn't get as much rest as you might have wanted, made it all kind of seem worth it?
Well, we are coming from Hungary and we just achieved a P1, P2 there in a race with a massive effort from the whole team in the last few years to be sure that we are in this position. And I think that's the highest level of expression of rewarding of the hard work and the effort that not only me, but the whole team here in the factory and the people traveling put hour after hour, day after day to contribute to elevate the performance to the highest level. And I think that's one of the best things. But obviously, that we all love to get a P1 and P2 in a race. but it's very rewarding as well when you're facing a challenge and you start to analyze, to dig in, to collaborate with all your teammates to try to figure out things, and you spend days and days and sometimes stuck, and it could get frustrating at some points, but suddenly you start to make sense of it and come up with theories and prove your theories, and together with your colleagues you find a solution and bring the solution to unlock some performance or solve the problem that we had. And then when you see that happening, I think it's really rewarding. And I think that's the nature or the deep definition of engineer. Is solve problems using a clever way to do it. Sometimes a clever way is just understand that keep it simple is the way of going forward. It doesn't need to be complicated. But solving those problems together with your colleagues and come out of the other side with a solution is very, very rewarding.
I didn't say it at the beginning, and I'm sure everyone listening will be thinking, Tom, why haven't you congratulated Jose on what a remarkable season it has been so far for McLaren, and hopefully it continues in that way. You mentioned about one of the biggest achievements and making everything like, this is why we do what we do, a P1, P2 in Hungary, but it's been so close coming all season. How, and I'm trying to relate this to the competition for the students. How do you knew you were building towards that? How do you keep that faith? How do you keep that focus? It can't have been easy at times, or was it easy because you knew it was coming? It's just around the corner.
I think it's not easy. It's not easy, but not because the result wasn't coming. It's not about the results. The results will come at some point. It's about the process. And as I said, trying to deliver the best of your capabilities, the best of what you have, consistently, every day in the office or traveling, wherever you are supporting a team or contributing with your job to the team. And being diligent and have discipline to show up every single day and do your little contribution to a bigger picture. That's not easy, but actually that's what it keeps you going forward. And as well, the culture here in McLaren, we are a team that we are all very keen to be better at what we are doing. And that willingness to be better at what we are doing, be a better engineer, be a better mechanic, be a better team principal, a little bit better every day. You don't need to do big changes from one day to another, just a little bit better every day, learning a little bit more, trying to apply those learnings every day to do a better job. I think that's the main focus of the journey. And that journey, that process takes you to elevate the team, to put those guys in a position where fantastic results could happen. And then those results sometimes are not on your hands. Sometimes you get good results and you didn't do a good job. You were just lucky. Sometimes you get bad results and you actually did a very good job, but somebody else crashed into you. So the result is not always on your hands. But you focus on what you can control, and what's on your hands is what it helps you to go through that journey, and take pride of those things, those little problems, as I said, those problems that you try to solve, and take pride of that and enjoy that journey. That's what makes it easier. It's not about finishing P1 or P2 every single race, or you are very good because you have won a race and you are very bad because you haven't finished on the points. That's not the case. There's fantastic engineers working in other teams that are struggling the last few years, and they are amazing professionals, as good as we are here in McLaren.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating to give that insight into how you feel based off an amazing result. I find that really interesting what you've just said there, Jose, and hopefully that will inspire people to just keep doing. Is it important to be accountable to you were talking about incremental improvements each day? Is that something you do, and do you think that helps you to be the best, or to do the best you can, is to be accountable? Okay, I didn't do this, I need to do that, and that accountability that we take into work.
100%. to do a good job, you need to be accountable of what you are doing. And it's not an individual thing. So you take accountability for what you are doing, but what you are doing, you try to do it at the best of your capabilities. And when you cannot understand what's the best way to do it, you use your teammates. This is a teamwork sport. You don't go alone in a project because you just use the teammates to support you, to ask for advice, to ask from people with more experience or with different skills that could help you to solve that little problem or to develop that project that you have accountability for. And actually, when that project comes through the support of many different inputs, and you have been the one taking accountability for it, the result normally is a higher level than if you have taken on your own. And in the process, you have learned things from your teammates, and you became a better professional, whatever is your position in the team. So yeah, definitely accountability. And not only that, you have to be humble as well, because you are trying to do the job at your best, and sometimes you get it wrong. And that's not a problem. We get it wrong. We need to feel comfortable of getting things wrong. And then looking with the hindsight, the benefit of hindsight, I said, now that I know the outcome of my decisions, I think I would have done this in this way, this in that way. I should have asked, maybe this person would have helped me at that point. Maybe I didn't ask because I thought I knew, but actually clearly I didn't know enough. Whatever is the conclusion. But then you learn from it. And then at the end of that process, you are even a better professional. And the next project, you will be even better prepared for the next project. And that's very important, no? And be humble to accept and put your hand up and say, look, I think I was wrong on this one. That's the logic behind why I did this, and that. Now I see that I missed all these other points and I should have taken them into account. Absolutely super important.
Thank you. I'd like to talk about technology now with you. If you could shine a light on some of the emerging trends or technologies in Formula One engineering that students should be aware of, and how that might help in their role of being a performance engineer or head of testing, can you shed some light on that?
So I was having a chat with a colleague the other day, and we were talking about how to train future performance engineers and those kind of things. That's something I do quite proactively here in McLaren, training the new generations of engineers. And one of the conversations at some point deviated a little bit, and we were talking that Formula One is not only about cars. It's not about drivers and cars. It's about software. It's about software to organize information, present information, collaborative software that help people working together even if they are not in the same place. Software to digest and analyze the data for us, because we generate such an amount of data that it's not possible to digest all that information by ourselves. It's about AI. It's about machine learning. It's about coding. And all that led by common sense and good engineering. So I think those are the things that are very, very important to take into account. And I may emphasize on those ones because those are areas and sections where the girls and the boys now participate in F1 schools. They can actually actively learn. Now, if I say things about carbon fiber and new materials coming through and so on, yes, great. But actually, at the level we are talking about, we are not learning about them that much. You will find that probably not even in university. You will find that only when you arrive to a big company related with these topics, no? But those skills about and being curious and learn all those things about the software that we set, being open-minded, data analysis, and communication skills, those are the technologies really that we think is currently F1. I'm not saying that is the future, it's the actual current moment, no? Then we can talk about future regulations with power units like 2026, with even more energy coming from the power units in an electrical way, less combustion engine demands and so on, or alternative fuels and all those kind of things. We could talk about that, no? But I think if I would point out some of them, it's the ones I said, because I think that's what they can learn actually now.
Well, that's good actually, Jose, because then that means we'll have to get you back on the Main Straight podcast in the future. So thank you for signing up for your second appearance.
No
on
problem.
that. Okay. Well, but that is a good focus, that those areas you spoke about for our students to aspire to. And on that subject, what advice would you give to any of the F1 in schools students aspiring to be in F1? What would you say to them if they want to get into F1? How could they go about that in the F1 in schools competition?
Look, getting a F1, it depends on many things now, and sometimes again, it's not in our hands. Some of us, we have been privileged of having the opportunity. Some fantastic engineers, and probably the best engineers in Formula One, are not in Formula One because they just missed that little opportunity they didn't get. So the most important thing is not about getting into Formula One, it's enjoying the journey, to put yourself in the best position possible to try to join a Formula One team if you can. And that journey is working with your teammates in F1 as schools to solve those problems that you face in the competition, learning about all these engineering skills and investing in knowledge is always extremely important. And at the same time, join with your friends and celebrate when you get good results, and don't be too down because you didn't get good results. Learn from from the things that didn't go as you expected, and try it next time again. And that's the important thing, no? Enjoy that journey each step. It doesn't matter how the journey looks like. My journey was definitely not the normal one. Normally, F1 teams kept the young engineers from graduate programs out of universities straight away, get them in the teams, and then grow them inside. I didn't do that. I just came from an outside world that is a junior formulas race engineering experience. So maybe I was lucky, I don't know, but it doesn't matter exactly what that journey is taking you through, no? But just enjoy it and maximize that time. Maximize the time to invest in knowledge, as we said, and be a good colleague, a good teammate, a good friend. That's going to open you so many doors in the wall and possibly could take you to F1. It took me to F1 as well. I wasn't the smartest engineer and didn't have the best grades in engineering in school. No, I just got my interview because somebody said, actually, this Spanish guy is a good engineer and he's a fantastic teammate. I think worth giving him an interview. And that's somebody that worked with me when I was in junior formulas. So if that happened to me, it could happen to anybody. So you don't know what the person that is next to you will be doing in the future, and what's his or her opinion about you, you know. And the only thing you can do is just be a good teammate and enjoy the journey.
Jose, I mean, every podcast for the Main Straight, we get on brilliant guests, and you are one of many fantastic guests that we will continue to get on this show. And I always write down questions. I have the questions in front of me. I had another 3 questions. One to ask about how to overcome technical challenges during guys' development. Talk about the students aspiring to enter in the world of F1 engineering, and then how competitors gain practical experience. But those questions have all gone out the window now, because you've done an excellent job of answering all of that, really. Just giving your time, which we most appreciate, and also just having some absolute golden nuggets of advice for all of the competitors. So as I've run out of questions now, I'll have to end on one, and thank you for being on the Main Straight. But it's to say, recently in this season, Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri have got their maiden wins in Formula One. What is it like for a McLaren party after that, from the engineers to everyone working in a team? How good of a party is there to be had when you achieve something like that?
I think it's just a great satisfaction, and it's a great satisfaction when you see the effort, the work every day put just to execute these races, and things come your way, because it's not always on your hands, as I said before. And so many people happy, both in the factory, on the track side. It's great, and sharing that with them. And that's when your emotions came out. We, as engineers, when we are on the track side or we are here in the factory working, we try to keep our emotions a little bit under control, because you need to be focused on doing a good job. Right? But that's when all that happiness comes out, and you hug your colleagues. You just enjoy that moment of celebration. But at the same time, that celebration that we need to acknowledge and celebrate, because it's difficult to achieve those things. And that's something that, you asked me for advice for the people in F1 schools. Guys and girls, celebrate your achievements. They have to be celebrated. But in F1, there's not much time to celebrate or to cry for a good or a bad result, because you need to be quite quickly focused on the next one. And but the satisfaction when you are going back home in that flight, or you just leave MTC because you have been supporting the team during the weekend, or you have been designing, you are just watching the race from home, because your job is not supporting the team in the execution of the weekend, it's just designing that car that then is racing there, and you see those parts that you have been designing, or those partnerships that you have brought in, and you see the sticker on the car, and you are thinking, those partnerships are allowing the team to achieve all these things. Now, I think it's a moment where we all get a lot of pride for it, and it's fantastic, and it's great. But quite quickly, the attention shifts to, okay, what things didn't go well this weekend, even though we won? What we can do better, because aim is perfection, and perfection never happens. And when you are working that with a mindset, you quite quickly start to review on what we can do to improve for the next race weekend and deliver again our best.
Well, what a perfect way to end this chat. Jose Manuel Lopez, head of testing at McLaren Formula One team, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being in the Singapore World Finals. And I'm also going to thank everybody who's going to be competing. As I started off this podcast by saying the World Finals in Saudi Arabia is coming up in November. And to all of those teams, make sure you take that time to enjoy your victories, celebrate, and make sure you learn from all of that data. Jose Manuel Lopez, thank you so much for being on the podcast. And it's already agreed. I'm going to talk to your PA about getting the next date in the diary. I can't wait for it.
Anytime. Absolutely, Tom. Thank you very much for hosting me. And if you need to talk another time, I'm more than happy to facilitate that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.